I have joined. Good morning and welcome to this episode of the Viewpoint here on News 24/7. My name is Derek Wandera. I'll be your host for today, sitting in for Daniel Lutaya. And my guests are already. Viewpoint here on. Sorry for that. I'll be sitting in for Daniel Lutaya, who is out of the country as we speak. For further studies. Daniel Lutaya has also been shortlisted by the Young Journalists Awards. That is a global award ceremony that takes place in the US, has been shortlisted as the best investigative journalists of the year. But there are 15 of them. It's going to be a very tough race. Today, we begin the viewpoint on a very sad note as a country. Before I delve into the points and the topics that we're going to be discussing, I want to bring to you our guests today. On my extreme left is a seasoned journalist, a panelist, and a political commentator in this country, Becca Bate Lule from Uganda Radio Network, and he's also pursuing his PhD. Good morning, Becca.
Good morning, Derek, and good morning to our listeners, wherever they are listening from. It's good to be here once again. Great.
Becca has been with us for a number of times, and on my extreme right is an NRM mobilizer, a corruption crusader, and one who is vying for the position of, is going to tell us,
National Vice Chairman.
National Vice Chairman, Job Richard Matua. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother Derek, my brother Becca, and my brother Ladu, yes. My Western Nile brother here.
Yes, and on the show also, a new face to us is my big brother. He has mentored me in the newsroom. He has been with me, he has moved with me, and he has seen us grow. Ismail Musa Ladu, who is a business senior journalist at Nation Media Group. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. That's a lot of superlatives there. I must say you're a brilliant journalist. If in anything, if I'm to say anything, 99% of your success is up to your brilliance, hard work, and all that. I am only responsible for 1%, if any.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Musa there. Today we want to begin this show on a very sad note as a country, because just this morning, I think last evening, there was a shooting in Kasese, which claimed about 25, I'm told the death toll now goes to about 40 students in Mpondwe, in Kasese district at that school. I am trying to get the name of the school. It's Lubirira Secondary School in Kasese district, where a number of students were shot dead, and analysts have said that that the school is about 800 meters away from the nearby police station,
Police post.
And about 105 kilometers away from the nearby barracks. That means the attack happened under the nose of the security operatives, which is not something as good at that. As we start this morning, I want us to just try to look at that situation. Baker, there have been very many attacks on schools, on police stations and stuff, and the attack is allegedly from ADF, and I just want to understand how safe we are.
First of all, I don't want to say it is ADF that has done it. You see, we have a problem in Uganda where on the first instance the police already is declared, without even investigating anything, they right away claim this is this. So how do we all of a sudden know that it was actually ADF that has carried out this thing? Then when you do that, you impede investigations. We've had problems of insecurity here in Kampala. People are shot dead. And on the first, we used to have the Inspector General of Police. He shows up at the scene where, say, Chile has been shot, and right away says that this is ADF. So do ADF leave their IDs for them to know that this is ADF? So I think we rush into making conclusions of who is responsible, especially where they have not come out to claim that we are responsible. But be it as it may, we are in Congo, and we've spent billions of shillings in Congo that we went to pursue ADF. If it is true that we went to pursue ADF, and by that time actually it was carrying out attacks that, in Kampala here they claim that they were carrying out attacks. We are not sure of that, because they have not claimed that they were the one pursuing. But at least they were they were not as daring like that incident in Kasese that has just happened this morning.
Yes. Where
25, I've seen also elsewhere that the number is more than that. What they are reporting is conservative. So I have seen students, they go in a dormitory and kill students. You see, what is government? You see, someone will say, but you see, it's not their fault, what and what. You see, what is the primary role of government? The primary role of government is to protect people and their property. So it is a failure on their side. And especially when we are spending billions of shillings in Congo, and that we are going to pursue ADF. So as we commiserate with the parents who have lost children, because it hurts to send a child to school and then you get a phone call that child has been killed in his or her own dormitory. It is really a sad moment for those parents. I really sympathize with them. I don't want to say I understand what they're going through. It is very hard for anybody to understand what they're going through. But as a parent, I can really relate to what the parents of these children are going through. It is disheartening. Just 3 weeks into a new time, you send a kid and then you get a phone call that they have been shot dead in their own school, in their own dormitory. So I think, and just less than a month, I think, we lost more than 50 soldiers of the UPDF in Somalia. I watched a video from that attack in Congo, I mean in Somalia. I'm convinced that figure of also 54 is also conservative, depending on watching the video, the footage of the aftermath of that attack. So I believe there were more than the numbers that were declared.
I mean, there was a number of about 171 that came out, but then of course we have to go with the official figures.
Yeah, no, we don't have to go with the official figures. That's what makes us journalists. We have to prod these figures. Yes, that is what they are providing.
Yes.
But do the facts speak to what they are providing? So, but the bottom line is, we've lost, even if one soldier, we should ask ourselves, what war are we fighting in Somalia? Number one. Number two, what war are we fighting in Congo? Is it really the war in Congo? Is it our war? It is somebody's war. In Somalia, is it Uganda's war, or we are really doing somebody's war? So these are really real questions that Ugandans must be asking themselves. Unfortunately, we have a leadership that is not accountable to us. So even if they kill how many, for as long as the leader does not believe that nothing will happen. In Somalia, when they killed 20 U.S. servicemen, Bill Clinton withdrew his forces from Somalia. You see, but for us, it doesn't matter whether they kill the entire battalion. Our leader is not responsive to what the people are saying. You know, one thing I agree with him, Somalia stopped to be, it is not our war. The soldiers are in for the money. Even the president himself said, they are deploying people who are chiefs, people who have no training, because they want the money that is given to soldiers who are in Somalia. But also, what is in it for government? It is not the interest of Uganda. It is interest of those in power. It is interest for them to keep themselves in power, because they are really executing a war that is not in any way a war for Uganda. So I think it is time for us to reevaluate the presence of our military in these places, the presence of our military in Sudan, presence of our military in Congo, presence of our military in Somalia, and elsewhere where the UPDF is deployed.
We know that the government of Uganda has been receiving donations towards the security boost in the country over the years from the US, I think from Russia and other donor countries. And part of the reason as to why we still receive this money is because of our presence in some of those countries, in Somalia, in DRC, and wherever we have been, the African Central Republic, trying to provide security there and bringing sanity and peace in those countries, which I think for a country that is Pan-Africanist like Uganda it's just only prudent that we show ourselves there. But like Becca puts it, that if we are not showing cause for our presence, and if we're not even showing the just for that fight, and we continue losing our beloved men and women, actually men in uniform in those countries, but also now we see that it's doing what you call a spillover effect now coming into the country, that this morning we have lost more than 40 young men and women who are pursuing their careers in school. And that is a very saddening point. I want to come to you, Ladu Isma. What does this point to our readiness to combat some of the spillover effects that our presence in some of those countries might cause to our country?
First of all, condolences to the parents of these children, of the children who lost their lives. I'm sure in something they don't understand. Okay. Look, two things. First of all, before I answer, I go to your question. In Congo, there are over 120 militias or rebels, if you like, depending on the lens you look at, operating just inside Congo and around Uganda border. Uganda-Congo border, 120 militias, all of them armed. Okay, so the idea of out of 120 militias singling out on ADF, I have a problem with that. I think the security apparatus and the people in charge of security are trying to begin to condition our mind. which I think is unfair. I can tell you it's not going to be long before people, a group of people especially, in Kampala and part of the country are going to be rounded up, and all of a sudden we are going to be told these are the ADF culprits. Now, you must understand that less than a fortnight, less than two weeks ago, there was an invasion at one of Muslim cleric home, Sheikh Kamuga.
Yes.
Okay? In between, there is a release of,
but that wasn't a rebel
absolutely
attack.
It wasn't. I'm trying to connect the dot.
Yes.
But of course, you know, it is alleged that these they have connections with ADF and all these things. If you look at everything that has been happening, these are some of the people who are being put to us as the face of some of these insurgencies. Yes. They invaded his home, tortured a few people in there. In between there was the state lost interest in a case that has been pursuing for the last 7 years against the Omumbere. Yes. Now there is a killing of children in that part of the country. Now it may be difficult to connect all these things, but I can tell you that there is something that we are being prepared to face. Okay? And all these things, they may look as if they're happening in isolation, but there's something happening there that, as I'm looking at it now as a journalist, we must be very, very critical, especially given the fact that at the moment the source of information is it's coming from one side, yes, which is the security. The security. And we also know that so many errors have been made before in terms of wrong information. So the point is, we've got to be careful. It's still too early to judge. And looking at it from a journalistic point of view, it's very, very early to buy into any narrative that is happening. We need to look at it in a very sober way and investigate it a little bit more deeper. Then, going about our presence in many of these countries. Now, we must be aware that we are fighting wars that is not ours, okay? And now, we find ourselves representing the image of what some of these people perceive as enemy, okay? And we must be very careful in a situation like that. So if we're in Somalia and people in Somalia don't want us to be there, but we are there because of somebody else's interest, then it's possible that some people may also look at us as part of the enemy. So it's very worrying. It doesn't matter how much funding we get from the donor countries, but we must be able also to define our interest in while getting involved in the geopolitics. For instance, Becca spoke of Pan-Africanism. If we are in Somalia, we are in Congo, what's our interest as Uganda? Not the US, not the EU, not the Western world. As Uganda, what should be our interest? And that's what we should pursue. But I'm afraid that that's not what we are in those countries for. This
story, thank you very much, Ladu. This story breaks just this morning, and we can't quite connect to a security personnel, but in the house is Job Matua, who is an NRM mobilizer, who represents NRM by figure, speech, and actions. We would like you to just try to help us understand what this means for your government, especially if things that used to happen in the early 1980s happening, where attacks were seen on schools and armed men coming to kill people in schools and stuff like that, happening in 2023. What does this what does this say about the government that is in power, but also those that have the mandate of giving protection to this country?
Yes, thank you very much, my brother, for giving me this opportunity. I have listened to my brother Becca and my West Nile brother Ladu. To the people of Uganda, first of all, I'm deeply saddened to hear that we have lost that number of younger people, more so students, in Ilumbiriha SS. it is really deep, 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 deep pain and something very, very sad. To me, we shouldn't have lost those children. That is my first point. It is unacceptable that we were able to lose this number of children and within the territory of Uganda. That's one. Two, I send my condolences to the bereaved families and the relatives of these children. We have really terminated the future of brilliant younger men and women. May their soul rest in eternal peace. Now, to the issue. First of all, I want to say that this school, from the reports that are coming so far, this school is 800 meters away from the nearest police post. 800 meters away. Even if those police officers did not intervene, I suppose they should have sent information to another bigger place or to the military base, nearest base, to respond. And this school is said to be 1.5 kilometers away from the nearest military detach or military barracks nearby. Now, the question is, was there a response? I think that's the question we need to really probe further. Why was there no response? When you say 11:30 p.m. for rebels to come and attack at this time, it means they should have arrived in that place much earlier. And they were in a cover. I said that? They should have arrived in that place much earlier. Why was it very difficult? Why did we not pick any intelligence of the suspicious movement of such group of people? If they are rebels, as it is alleged. So to me, my brother Derek, to me it is a very, very big failure on our part as the people of Uganda. You know, security is not all about the soldiers and the police officers. The security involves even the ordinary citizen providing information to the security officers so that there is a response. Why was there no information? That nobody saw any of those rebels moving around? This is the question we need to answer further. So therefore, my conclusion on this thing is that, my brother, it is a big failure on our part. We must honestly admit this and do better. It is not good. Now, the question of whether we are fighting our wars. I want to inform my brothers, my two brothers with me in the studio here, and our viewers and listeners. Please, my brother Becker, the safety, the stability of Uganda depends on the stability of the neighboring countries. Me and my brother Ladu, we come from Western Nile. My brother, you can confirm to me that we have very many refugees there, causing more other instability over depleting resources, because of the instability where? In South Sudan. So if our neighboring countries are not stable, the spillover effect will be directly in Uganda, and it will destabilize Uganda. So it is in the geopolitical interest of Uganda that Uganda must go and intervene in the insecurity in the Congo and in the security in South Sudan, so that Uganda is safe. In fact, the attack itself should inform the last person who didn't believe that it is important for UPDF to go there to now believe that, in fact, we must completely do away with ADF rebellion in Eastern Congo. Because the more we continue to accommodate them there, then the worse the situation will be in Uganda. You never know, it may even escalate to other parts of Western Uganda. They may even come into Fort Portal. They may come further inward.
My brother, just information.
Yes.
There are over 120 militias in Congo and inside Congo, within Congo and operating around our borders.
Yes.
So at this stage, is it wise to say it's
to ADF? Conclude that
it can be any other. It can be any one of the 120.
The police released a statement this morning and confirmed that this attack is by ADF. And I'm going to read this statement verbatim from the spokesperson of police, Fred Enanga. He says last night we registered a terrorist attack by the ADF rebels on Lubirira Secondary School in Impondwe that is located about 2 kilometers from the RDC from the DRC border. That's Democratic Republic of Congo. A dormitory was burnt and a food store looted. So far, 25 bodies, at least as of the statement, 25 bodies have been recovered from the school and transferred to Bwera Hospital. Also recovered are 8 victims who remain in crucial condition at Bwera Hospital. A hot pursuit by the UPDF and the police is ongoing towards the Virunga National Park. We do offer our deepest condolence to the families of those that have been killed and offer our prayers and thoughts to those who have been wounded. More details will be available availed in the due course. And for me, reading this statement, it looks to me that there is an effort to pursue the attackers, and it is not yet clear, which is not in the statement, is how do they identify these as ADF rebels.
Yes, if you can allow me to respond to my brother.
Yes.
Actually, my brother, I take your information very seriously. It is not only 150. Actually, I have a journalist in Goma called Baraka. He sent me a research, information about the number of rebels in DR Congo. Congo alone has 220 rebel groups. DR Congo.
Yes.
Now, I agree with my brother. How fast did the police conclude that it is actual ADF? Did they arrest one of them who confessed that the group that came was from ADF? I agree with you on that.
Because my point, my brother, is at this point is about taking accountability first.
Yes.
You take accountability. Actually, I'll be expecting the Minister of Defense to be tendering in resignation right now, because you don't need to make so many mistakes for you to be shown exit. Just the fact that this has happened, heads should be rolled. It's time to take accountability. I mean, how else can this be dealt with? So instead of apportioning blame that, so and so, it's unfortunate it has happened. It shouldn't have happened. Of course, they should pursue the guys who did this, bring them to the book, and the law should apply. But as we deal with that, who is taking responsibility for this?
Ladu, I think calling for the resignation of the defense minister is so far-fetched when we still have ministers who are in courts of law over theft of Mabati, and they are still in their offices. We have a Twitter space. We are live on Twitter spaces of News 24/7. When you log in, you will at a later time send in your requests to speak, and you will be able to speak to us with comments about the topics that we shall be talking about here. And also you can drop a message or a comment which shall be read here. We are also live on our YouTube channel of News 24/7. News 24 is in letters and then 7 is in word. And you will be getting us right there, but you can also get our link that is going to be shared on all our media platforms. And I want to bring in Matua here to try to make us understand. And I also I'm happy that he's also not happy with the fact that they are telling us it's ADF. Yes. Yet there is M23 that's operating near Uganda in Congo. There is so many other militias that are around. Mr. Matua, is government serving this country diligently as it should?
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, I was still on motion as I gave space for my brother to give me information. So I want to say that this attack, yes, it happened, but our failure to respond instantly must be seriously condemned. In fact, to me, it should be the sticking point. It should be the point of investigation. I have told you, 800 meters away from the nearest police post, 1.5 kilometers away from the nearest barracks or military detach. Have you seen that? 2 kilometers away from the nearest police station, major station. In this era of mobile telecommunication, at least some information should have moved around very fast, that there is a serious attack in such a place, and immediate response should have been what? State. To tell me that there is a hot pursuit. Why a hot pursuit? As if this thing happened in the wee hours of the night. By now I wanted to hear that we have located the rebels together with the abducted children in such a place. Now we are in advanced stage of rescuing the children. So a rebel attack at 11:30 p.m., meaning that they arrived there much earlier. Why was there failure to have intelligence about the presence of suspicious people in the area? So that's the thing I want us to answer. Now, lastly,
yes.
I want to tell the people of Uganda that when such things happen, we should not rush to conclude that we don't need to go and fight these wars. I can tell you Uganda is a very, very small country. If you wait for a trouble to come in our land here, given our geographical size, we can be overrun within no time. It is a strategical, it is in a strategic military interest, strategic geopolitical interest that if there are wrong people in our neighborhood, we must go there and deal with them before they come and attack us at home. Thank you very much.
I want to bring in Baker. You have had the analysis from what people are gathering from the ground, and the vicinity within which there is what you would have called the intervention measures of police and security, but also the fact that they are just trying to pursue a hot pursuit against the so-called ADF rebels. What does this tell you or tell us about the relationship between the security and the communities in which we live?
Thank you. Before I can answer that question, I want to respond briefly to what Job Matua.
Yes, Job Matua
is saying. I read a book by Ellen Epstein. That book is called Another Fine Mess, Uganda, America's War on Terror. In my hands, I'm holding another book called America and the Production of Islamic Truth in Uganda. Those books touch the wars Uganda is invested in. I would listen to you if you are in Congo, you are in Somalia, you are in South Sudan for reasons of security of Uganda. I would listen to you. But that's not the reason we are there. When you read those books, you see the beauty with doing the higher education, you read a lot of material that some ordinary Ugandans don't read. So I can tell you there is plenty of literature to explain our presence wherever we are. It has nothing to do with the security of Uganda. No one is interested in overrunning you. Nobody. So you are in Congo, who wants to overrun you in Somalia? Until Uganda went to Somalia, was there any interest of the Somalis to attack Uganda if we had not gone there? I was in South Sudan. Is there any South Sudanese who wants to overtake Uganda, who wants to overrun Uganda? Why are we in there? So these books, and actually that particular book, Uganda and the American War on Terror, written by, she's an American, the person who is writing that book. So she is privy to a lot of information in the American side. She interviewed ambassadors. She worked in the region for a long time, 20 years. Ellen Epstein, you can look it up. You can even get it free of charge online. So this is not our war. For you to sit here and say that we are there for any reason, we are not there for any reason that Uganda's security is in jeopardy. It is not. If anything, actually our presence there is the reason we get problems here. You know, so you ask yourself, if we are in Congo to fight ADF, why are we building roads there? I watched a video the other day of Congolese children who are being taught who are being on the parade. You know what they are being told? That Uganda and Rwanda are the enemies of Congo. So the Congolese believe that the problem of Uganda the problem of Congo is Uganda, and you are seated here and you are saying that if we don't intervene, the last time we intervened in a conflict in Rwanda, we have a 10 billion. No, it was reduced, but then it was a 10 billion bounty on our head. You see, we have to pay. The people who stole from Congo in that what was it called, the Commission of Inquiry. Kahino Tafire is one of those, the monitor, published a story where he was admitting that they actually stole gold and timber from Congo. So whose interest, what interest were we serving there? So we have, it was reduced to about 325 million US dollars on our head. We have to pay Congo. So don't tell me that we are there for any interest for Uganda. It isn't. If you do an opinion poll on Ugandans and you ask them, are we okay to be in Congo? What will the response be? We are in Congo not without even the authorization of parliament, because at least we will discuss how members of parliament get elected fraudulently, but nonetheless they are there, they are our representative.
Yes.
We sent our soldiers to Congo without the authorization. We sent them to Somalia without the authorization. We sent them to South Sudan without the authorization. Museveni does that retrogressively. Then he comes, can you authorize when they are already there? So if really there was anything in for Uganda, and I don't mean to reduce Uganda to Museveni's interest, if there was anything of interest for Uganda, then why are you not involving the Ugandans through their representatives? All these wars, I can tell you for a fact, depending on the literature I have read, they are not our wars. They are Museveni's wars. That is why when the Americans and Europeans were threatening him here, they said we are going to withdraw from Somalia. Didn't you hear that? Museveni said it, Katuma Amara said it, then Chionga, who was the Minister of Defense, said it. So if you are in Somalia really for interest of Uganda Pan-Africanism, why, if they are talking to you about the violation of human rights, then you are threatening to withdraw from Somalia? So please, this is not our war. You will help yourself by reading the literature around these wars, and you will understand that they are actually Museveni, American and European wars. They are not our wars at all. In Congo, now, you know, Congo has got, now the world is moving to this, what we call these electric cars. And Congo has got the minerals, 95%, 85% of all the minerals that are responsible to make electric batteries are in Congo. So there is a lot of interest there. So when you find Museveni and when you find UPDF there, really, he's going to guarantee the interest of other people, not for Uganda. That for a factor, you know. But having said that, one of the key points of Museveni's 40 years here, one of his thing he has been parroting, and people who speak for him like Matua here, is that we have had security. First of all, there is nowhere where they sell Obujonjo. Obujonjo is what in Uganda? In English? You don't know.
I don't know.
When you see those things that come in the eye, I don't know how it is called. There is no market for them. So because that is what you get from sleep.
Yes.
So there isn't any market for those. You know, number one. Number two, you go and ask people who lost children in 2020 whether we have security here. Number three, you ask the people from Musinga, they released them the other day,
yes,
whether Uganda is a secure place. Number four, go and talk to the family of Kawesa, go and talk to the family of Sechi, of Kiria, of Abdul Karim Sentamu, go talk to the family of Bahiga, go talk to the family of Ichuri.
Yes.
And ask them, you have security here. If they want to kill me, go talk to the family of Chirumira. If they want to kill me today, nothing is going to stop them from killing me. It doesn't matter whether these people are elements within the state or it is an outsider. So that is part of it. But the other thing is that also Museveni and his lieutenants, they have been disingenuous on that front. All the conflicts this country has ever had, all of them, apart from maybe that of 1966, but that one he was training to come and disrupt peace. But Museveni writes in his own book, Sowing the Mustard Seed, I read it in Senior 1. He writes that on the day that there was a coup in Kampala, he had come to the stage to go to Kampala, and there were no cars. So he asked, what is the problem? He said, hey, didn't you hear? He used to be a security whatever in the office of the president. He said, have you not heard the president was overthrown? He didn't come to office. He immediately started on working on the collapse of the government of Idi Amin. And he shows you several times of how he undermined the government of Idi Amin. So all the insecurity during Idi Amin's time, Museveni's hand is there in his own admission. In 79, when the allied forces of the Tanzanian forces and Ugandan exiles came to Kampala, Museveni was a force. In 79, you see, from 1980, so he was part of that government up to 1980 when there was an election. In 1980, when they defeated him in an election, he went to the bush. So from 71 up to 1986, when before he became president, he was part of the insecurity in Uganda. Number one. Number two, after he became president, all the conflicts that this country has ever had, he's a participator. Because he's the commander of the UPDF, and when, for example, you are fighting LRA is not fighting with itself. It is fighting with the UPDF, and the commander of the UPDF is Joel Museveni. Therefore, all the insecurity this country has ever had, apart from maybe the first insecurity of 1966, President Museveni's hand has been there. Therefore, he should not sit there and say that I gave you peace, but he was part of those ones who are spoiling peace. So all this, so his biggest point that I brought peace in Uganda, it is not true, because he was part of the insecurity. And even if for argument's sake we agree that he brought peace, or we have told you incidences of insecurity here. And to make matters worse, when he had just come here, he told us, I saw a video recently, some time ago, where he was saying, you see, how do they kill a Ugandan? And the district commissioner, the RDC, keeps the job. How can a police commander remain a police commander when one Ugandan has been killed? He should be telling us that in the last 10 years, how many Ugandans have been killed outside, extrajudicially. How many Ugandans have been killed extrajudicially? He should tell us one person who has been held responsible for these extrajudicial killings.
Yes, Becca is trying to insinuate the fact that, like philosophers say, that the absence of war doesn't necessitate peace in a country. And we know that there have been so many killings, so many shootings in the country in the past 1 or 3 months. But also it has been there over pockets of attacks on police stations, pockets of attacks on military detaches and other positions. And this all poses nothing but insecurity. And Job Matua is burning to tell us a point, but I want us to close this. But before we close, I'm going to give you a minute to just wrap it up.
Just a minute.
Before we close.
Thank you very much. I thank my brother Becca very much for the energy he's putting in there.
Yeah, he's a very charismatic speaker.
The submission.
Yes.
And I want to inform my brother that me and the brother Ladu, we come from Western Nile.
Yes.
We have witnessed firsthand the effect of insecurity in an area. My brother, the question of security is not a dream. It is a reality. And I can tell you, you find time and go to as part of your study, go to Western Nile and study the population of refugees there and the reason as to why they are there. So I can tell you that Uganda went to South Sudan to prevent inflow of more refugees. Otherwise, if South Sudan completely breaks it down, we will have more refugees in West Nile than you can imagine.
You know that is a lie. Because
let me. You will come. Please.
No. Because you see,
we are profiting. Becca, can we just?
This is a business.
Becca, can we just allow Matua to speak?
To stop refugees from coming.
Can we just allow Matua to submit his?
It is factually wrong. It is factually wrong.
Let's just
we can allow him. We can allow Matua to give opinions, but you cannot. You are entitled to your opinion, but not your own facts.
This is not opinion.
No, it is opinion.
My brother.
You are entitled to opinion, not facts.
No, he will tell you.
Okay, Becca, we know for sure that Uganda is one of the biggest host for refugees in Africa and maybe in the world.
I want to inform.
But just make your point.
Yes, let me finish. Becca, I want to tell you, this is not an opinion. There are conflicts between the refugees and the host communities in Western Nile. This one will confirm to you.
Being
yes.
South Sudan, Congo, being neighboring countries, it means whatever happens, whatever insecurity happens there,
South Sudan, it
spills
over
of people from there, to Uganda, which is true, which
even
also comes with its own pressures.
In fact, sometimes the rebels even come to attack people inside Uganda's territory. So
I know for sure. Matua, thank you for that point.
My conclusion is that we should not ignore the issue of insecurity related to instabilities in the neighboring countries, Becca. To your advantage, you are from Kayunga here. You have not seen what we call instability.
I was in South Sudan, by the way. I was in South Sudan with all those conflicts there. I was there.
I am very sure you don't have any experience.
No, I'm telling you, you have no experience of war. I'm telling you, I was in the middle of the war in South Sudan for 4 years.
Let's calm down.
Should we have such a situation in Uganda?
Let's calm down.
He was misleading. He was misleading to say he was misleading to say that we went to South Sudan to stop refugees from coming.
Yes,
that's not the reason.
Okay, Matua, can we just hear this point? What's your point?
My point is that he said that we go to places like South Sudan that we want to stop refugees from coming to Uganda. That is not the point. That's not the case. Because actually, let me tell you, Uganda is one of the countries which loves refugees. Because we make business from them. It is a business from Museveni and the rest of there is a lot of research around the issue of refugees. But the point I wanted to make, we can discuss that later. But the point I want to make, we are not in South Sudan. I was in South Sudan in 2013 when the first conflict broke out.
Yes.
Our military, the UPDF, was there like 2 days after. I mean, on the very day that there was conflict there. You see. And what was it doing? It was fighting on behalf of the regime of Salva Kiir. So if you are there to stop, you do. We have seen the UN. It doesn't intervene in the fighting between the forces. It goes to do a neutral job, not to fight to do the offensive, but for it is to protect. Uganda was fighting on behalf of Salva Kiir. So how do you then tell us come here and say no, we are there to stop refugees? How do you do that?
The insecurity in this country, and we should also allow the fact that insecurity in any neighboring country affects us. It affects us economically, it affects us security-wise, and it also does even in socio-economic effects really come as a ripple effect. There is, especially when there is fighting in some of those countries. But one of the questions I might want to ask our government is how insecure how socio-economical do we get affected when there is a war in Somalia, for instance, where we have been for decades and decades. But Ladu has something to say.
Well, absolutely. Still on that point exactly. Now, the thing is, once the Somalians, in this case, begins to look at you as an occupier or occupying force, then that's the beginning of the problem. It doesn't matter what interest took you in there. Okay. So, and I have a feeling that most of a section of Somalians, or if that's the right pronoun, Somalis yes, do not seem to like the fact that our military has been there like for so many years, and this is the time to redefine our interests. Okay. And if we are serving other people's interests, how does that help us coexist peacefully with our neighbors?
Yes.
If we don't sort that out, then we are likely to be in this to be in this position again, of where something that is influenced outside our borders and affect us internally. Now, when you look at when we speak about trade and business,
yes,
South Sudan for so many years has been our leading export destination. Then DRC, Congo. So yes, we have an interest, but the interest should be business and trade,
yes,
not some kind of occupying force or some kind of a fireman kind of army, where you go, you put off the fire, but you also have the ability to leave the fire burning. Okay, so we need to redefine this. If it's trade, if it's business, then I think that's something I'll support. But it doesn't look as if that is exactly what's happening.
Thank you very much. As we switch, I just wanted to give a synopsis to this, that DRC Congo recently joined the East African community, and part of the reasons as to why DRC joined was to widen their market base to the East African community and make sure that there is a free trade zone within the East African community. And I think that Uganda does a lot of business in Congo, like Ladu has said. And if there is a war there, and the ripple effects are felt in Uganda. Certainly we are affected in one way or the other. Matua had already...
I just wanted a second, if possible.
Okay, a second, please.
Please, Uganda's economic well-being depends on the trading with the neighboring countries and beyond. Before South Sudan disintegrated in the recent time, Uganda was doing a lot of business with South Sudan.
Yes.
My brother will tell you that the prices of all things increased in Western Nile, including goats. In fact, people would even come and buy a garden of cassava when it is still young from Western Nile. You see Congo there. Uganda earns a lot from Congo. Majority of the rich people in Western Nile, they got their money by trading in Congo. So Uganda building a road in Congo is in economic interest of Uganda. Please, we should understand it. I want to disagree with my brother Becker that it is not true that Uganda is the hosting refugees because Uganda want money. Why don't these refugees go to Egypt instead of coming to Uganda? Why don't they go to other countries? Why don't they go to Kenya, go to Tanzania or Rwanda instead of coming to Uganda? Uganda is hosting refugees because of her hospitality. Ugandans are hospitable people. Ugandans are welcoming. They are friendly.
Yes.
Yes. Refugees find it much easier to come to Uganda than to go to other countries. I submit.
Thank you. I want to read a comment that's coming in from one of our listeners and viewer.
Yes.
Grandma Ethan, who is saying, how come rebels spend 2 days camping in a place with the military and get discovered after the damage? What happened to our intelligence? This is a very fundamental question that ought to go out to our security and government, and the fact that I asked the question of what's the relationship between our security and the communities within which they thrive, because I know that the best intelligence is always lying within the community people, and I don't know whether that's possible because there is sheer brokenness of flow of information from the community and the security, because when the rebels come in, they will know where the security are camped and they will live within the community. And if you don't have that relationship, you'll certainly always be affected.
To give you information, that person is a reference, is a statement made by the division commander.
Yes.
Diko
yes.
And I think it is reported here by Daily Monitor.
Okay.
Daily Monitor has reported here.
Okay, thank you very much, dear listener. We want to shift gears to the just recently read budget, but I want to let one of our panelists, Becker Bate Lule, to
maybe he makes a comment on the budget.
You need to just make just a quick comment about the budget. A budget was read on Thursday, and a budget of 55 trillion, 17 of which is just going to be used for servicing a debt, which doesn't even complete the debt.
That is my biggest problem with the budget. I mean, because first of all, I have seen budgets. If you go and ask Ugandans, what was the previous budget of this one, the year we have ended, 2022, 2023, of what impact was it to their lives? Zero. So budget are like many things have become just a ritual, where because it doesn't trickle down to the common man. It is very hard for us, the common people, to see how that budget is useful to us.
Yes.
Unless when we are paying taxes. Because you imagine where you are spending almost half of what you are collecting in paying interest. We are paying little actually of that money in terms of the principal. We are paying interest on these monies.
Yes.
I had the president the other day say, also quarreling. So I'm like, but these dates are approved by cabinet. So where do you sit in cabinet? Are you sleeping in cabinet? Don't you attend cabinet? I saw him yesterday commenting on the same. He said, I am going to now start authorizing these loans myself. So who has been authorizing? So where have they been discussed? Have you not been discussing it? Because these things come from cabinet. So
I actually think I actually don't think there is any loan, a fundamental loan that can be taken
Without him.
his consent.
Yes.
Now we don't know whether he's trying to actually say that he's now going to disengage with others. He's going to be taking an individual.
Yeah, and you hear our president, if by the way you've just landed in this country, you are from America or wherever, you have just come and you tuned in and you heard the president speak, you'll be forgiven to think that he's the leader of opposition. He's Chagulanyi wanting to get to power. Because he's also lamenting, and you say, you've been in government for 40 years almost. We normally say, if Monitor wants a reporter, now, one time they reached out to me, and we disagreed on the money. But the reason they were reaching out to me, because they know I know the job, I can do it.
Yes.
And the reason I was also putting on table the figures which they said that is too much, because I knew I could do the job. So the thing is that when you have done a job for a long time, you know how to do it.
Yes.
You get? Because Monitor would likely go to give half of what it was giving me to a student who has just left university, but he doesn't know the art. So they are giving me that amount because they think that I know the job, because I've done it for a long time. But the people who are running the state in Uganda for 40 years, as they have learned nothing from running the state. Their experience is for only the bad reasons. Because if it was for good reasons, we would be better than what we are now. But every day the president is lamenting. When he gets the budget, he says, no, these figures are not true. These figures are cooked up by finance. So you Ugandan who is listening, why would you believe the budget when the man, because the president is the default minister of finance, when the minister of finance, the default minister of finance is also disputing the very figures from his own ministry, why would any Ugandan take them seriously? So I think this budget for me, like all the previous budgets, is really not going to do anything to change the lives of our people. If anything, I had the president say, we are tired now, you are not doing a good job. I want you to start doing a good job. URA has been sucking blood from the few people who are paying taxes. You get? I have a friend of mine who registered a small business and he closed it. Now on his, they sent him a figure of 4 million, which he has to pay in a business that has not been working for the last 3 years. You get? So the small business, the few people, the 13% who are paying taxes, because the ratio GDP to tax ratio 13%. Now the few people who have been paying taxes are going to be paying more taxes than they have been paying. It is going to be more severe than it has been. A friend of mine bought a car in Japan. He bought that car at 11 million. URA asked for 22 in tax. So now imagine you, the people who have been in this thing. They will say that they have not introduced new taxes. But of course, they have not introduced new taxes. But the tax regime that URA imposes on the few people who are paying taxes, it is choking them already. Now, if the president says that, no, it hasn't been choking enough, you brace yourself for bad times to come. But whether the budget is going to improve the lives of our people, I am not one of those who are optimistic.
Thank you very much, Becca Baterule, and I love the charisma with which you point out your issues and you bring out facts with based on evidence and factual speech. I want to bring in Ismail Musa Ladu, who is our business expert, I should say, on this show, that is going to just try to make us understand the budget. The budget was read 2 days ago.
Absolutely.
And people are wondering to what end does it represent them. We just want you to help us understand some of the figures in there and where you think people can tap into.
Absolutely. I'll avoid being as technical as possible. I really like to communicate. Because the economic managers of these countries have spoken, the economists have done what they're supposed to do, policymakers have done their job. So now it's the rest of us to interface with this budget. Now, Becca alluded to the fact that this is a heavy debt budget, if you like. Now, this is how you should look at this budget, that if you earn 100 shillings, okay, so of that 100 shillings, 30 shillings goes towards paying of debts. Okay, as soon as you get it, 30 shillings goes to pay debt. Now look at it this way. For those who have families, you buy an ice cream and you give it to your kid or your child. Get that ice cream from that child, then scoop off 30%. Then look at the child's face. You know, just look at the child's face. Definitely, I'm not sure. You know, you'll get a very, very good reaction. So that is the premise of our budget. That
Yes.
it is a substantial portion of it will be going towards paying debt. Now, after that, then we pay wages for public servants.
Yes.
Once we are done with that, there is no budget. Now, there is a tendency of looking at it as a 52 or nearly 53 trillion budget. No. We should be looking at what we are able to collect.
Yes.
As a country, what Uganda Revenue Authority is supposed to collect, which is, you know, nearly 30 trillion. Okay.
That's the projection for the next
Absolutely.
financial year.
Yeah, that's the
the
projection.
last financial year it was about 25 something. That's what they collected.
Nearly 25
Yes.
trillion. Now, of course, there is an increase, but even then, you get nearly 30 trillion divided by 45 plus million Ugandans, and you'll see how laughable, you know, each will take home. So that's also important to understand. Then, after, you know, having these two in mind, you realize that you've heard of unfunded priorities.
Yes.
This word goes around a lot. And I'm sure when my brother Matua is with his colleagues in Chakwanzi and all these things, all these guys come up, unfunded priorities, this area. The reason why it is not part of this budget is because we don't have that money.
The unfunded priorities.
What
What are some of those? Just break for us a little.
Let me come back to Kampala. The reason why the state of the roads they are in the situation in which we see them is because of lack of maintenance. Okay, money for regular maintenance is not enough.
But
KCCA needs the budget is about 100 billion, but they only get about a quarter of that.
But I understand in the new budget there is about 2 trillion.
There is an allocation, and we
Yes.
must also be very careful that it's an allocation.
An allocation, yes.
It may not
Necessarily come through.
because part of the reason again why our roads are degenerating is because the money that are meant for the maintenance are also not coming through in good time. So it's still an allocation. So once we have that in mind, then it gives us an idea of what kind of budget we are interfacing with. Now, another thing is, if you look at the allocation that has been earmarked for under what we call domestic areas, it's about 200 billion. Okay. Now, the total areas is in excess of 2.5 trillion.
Yes.
Now, you need to understand when it comes to domestic area, these are local suppliers. These are local business people who supplied government with goods and services. People in Nasa Road, people in SME sectors,
The
agriculture. I mean, all services that government consume domestically have been supplied by these people. But these are people whose money has been tied up with government.
Just I would like to give this that as ISMA finishes up, we are joined by an economist from Chambogo University, Francis Muhire, who is going to also try to demystify this matter for us in an in-depth manner.
Absolutely.
So, Isma, from the journalistic angle, we would like to help us paint for us this picture of how, or if there is any kind of touch that the final person, the final consumer of this budget is going to get, does this budget relate to the common person in your view?
Well, the question is, I mean, the answer is the outlook. If you look at the packaging, the outlook of the budget seems to speak to the common aspiration. So the outlook, the structure, the attempt to redistribute the resources seems to speak to what the common man needs. For example, if you look at let's look at PDM. Although I have my reservation about the PDM, I think it may not succeed. I want it to succeed, but I think it may not succeed because of it appears as if it has been rushed. Okay. Now let's look at the PDM itself. Okay. The intention is to put some money into the households. Okay. So if that works out, then it's good news for everybody. But then I don't believe that the amount of money availed for PDM, even at this early stage, can really transform the economy in a way that we have been told. So the outlook, the structure seems to speak to the aspiration of what we may call the common man. But the issue now is the execution, which I also, going by the past experience, I don't think the execution will be done 100%, because we are coming from a budget performance of less than 30%. So I don't have hope that going forward the performance will be any better, basing on where we are coming from.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ladu. So we want to invite, before I bring in Matua, Mr. Muhire, I hope you are there and listening to us. I want you to join into this and just give perspective of what you think this budget seems, or what you think this budget brings to the people of Uganda, and whether you as an expert see the trickle-down effect to the final person. Mr. Muhire, are you there? Our producer is trying to get him. Is he there? Is Mr. Muhire being heard? Okay. As we try to Mr. Muhire, please, can you unmute and speak to us? Okay, as he plays around with the technology that seems to be problematic there, let's try it. Let's get Mr. Matua to try to help us understand what this budget means, and as the drawers of this budget. And I always call you the NRM in the house. As the people who make this budget, what are the challenges you face, or what are the challenges you think government faces with this budget that they just read?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I want to put a disclaimer. I am NRM 311.
Yes.
But I don't speak for NRM.
Yes.
The budget is not drawn by NRM. It's drawn by a government.
Government.
Which is
NRM government.
Which is the NRM government.
In the government,
311.
they have an opposition there. The nobody mouse are there. So the government is for all of us.
Yes.
I'm telling you this. So, but I want to give my own view concerning the budget. First of all, we are running a deficit budget.
Yes.
In my view.
True.
Because the revenue does not correspond with our expenditure. That alone to me is indiscipline.
True.
The economic expert is here, the business expert is
Yes.
here, and the Dr. Muhire will respond to that. So therefore, why run a deficit budget? That's the first thing we need to answer to all of us, because this is our thing. It is not for only the government to say the least. So a deficit budget, we must challenge this thing and the budget within our means. If what we are collecting is 30 trillion then our budget should be 30 trillion at the most. So I am not happy with running a deficit budget. I am not an economic expert, but the budget is also partly political.
Yes.
To me, it is disastrous to run a deficit budget. I cannot budget for something that I don't have. No. Two, let us look at the specifics of the budget. 30 trillion is projected to be collected by URA. Why is it possible for URA to collect this money? What did they collect in the last budget?
Just for information, my brother, for the last 5 years, they've not been hitting their target. So and this time, the increase
is abnormal. Is very.
I think an average of about 2.3 trillion to about 2 to 3 trillion increase.
Yeah.
But coming from the past 5 years of not hitting the collection targets.
My question is, will URA collect this budget? This revenue, the targeted revenue.
It's ambitious.
If we really are realistic to ourselves, businesses are just recovering from COVID lockdown effect. So, to me, this target is too high, and URA will fail to achieve it, pushing us into more debts. That's why at the end of the day, if URA fails to collect, my brother Derek, we will end up going for loans to close the gap.
Yeah. And out of that, remember, it's what we used to pay the debt from the domestic collection. The projected nearly 30 trillion that will be mobilized. It's part of that goes direct to paying the debt. So where is the service delivery? So this is why I said earlier, after paying wages and all these things, how much is left for?
Thank you very much, my Western brother, Mr. Ladu.
Yes.
So therefore, brother Derek, URA may not collect the 30 trillion projected if the tax base is not expanded. Otherwise, those of us who already taxed will be taxed more and will be taxed to the bone. I think that, or will be taxed to our graves, if any. Why is it difficult for URA to expand the tax base? There are very many people earning income. I'm telling you, there are very many people earning income. Why are we only having less than 5 million people in the tax base of URA? To me, URA should do everything, should look for every creativity to roll the people paying tax to plus 10 million. Expand the tax base, collect more money, and relieve ourselves from this excessive borrowing.
Yes.
Because we have not seen much progress from what we are borrowing. And I'm told we are even paying some loans about to mature without them being utilized. So for what reason are we borrowing? The president in his own statement said some of these loans we are incurred because of the new colonial agency in our civil service. So who are those new colonial agents? Can we name and shame them? I don't want blanket talk on this issue of the budget. Now, let us go to the issue. 17 trillion to service a loan. My brother Derek.
Yes.
If a loan alone is going to take 17 trillion, what is this? 17 trillion. What proportion of the national budget is the 17 trillion? If I'm not mistaken, it is more than 25%.
25-30%.
To 25 to 30%. This is a huge money.
Or just one
item taken that budget. So they send us a signal that actually we are budgeting to pay the debts. So what are we budgeting for service delivery? What are we budgeting for development of Uganda? Let us now look into these actuals. That is why you see we failed to find 80 billion to put in the budget for intern doctor and HSOs. And I saw the Minister for Finance announcing 22.6% billion for arrears of the intern doctor. What about for the intern doctors we are to deploy? It is gazetted as an funded priority.
Yes.
So therefore, I want our budgeting to improve further, my brother Derek.
Yes.
To me, we are budgeting to pay loans which we have not utilized properly. I said that we are budgeting. We are budgeting for travels
Yes.
Of our people outside, donating our money, actually taking our money out, which will not return back to the economy easily. There must be need for sanity in our budget. I want to say we must discipline ourselves and the budget, what we are able to collect. We must adjust our expenditure to feed what we are able to collect. We must discipline ourselves. If you don't have money, then increase the number of times you eat beans than the number of times you eat meat, chicken, and what have you. Otherwise, if you want to eat chicken every time when the budget is small, then that is indiscipline, to say the least.
Yes.
So therefore, my brother, I want to see a budget that is going to do production. I want to see a budget that is going to deliver services to the people of Uganda. If not, such a budget cannot please me. Thank you.
I think the president in President's speech, he emphasizes value addition, especially in the agricultural products, and we also know that he has a staggering tongue around the fact that he has always emphasized that agriculture is the backbone of Uganda. I think that's a statement he's going back on over time, and now he's encouraging industrialization, agro-industry, and things like that as one of those that will enforce that will enhance the economy. But we also know that we have the biggest part of our export is from agriculture. You talk of coffee, you talk of I think milk products and things like that, and the president is so much emphasizing that if we have to export some of those, we need to do some value addition, and we shall realize what we need. I want to go to the producer to see if we can get Mr. Francis Muhire, who is also going to demystify for us this budget from his economic expertise, but also trying to help us understand how the trickle-down effect is going to be realized in this business, in this budget that has just been read, and I think the financial year is beginning next month. Mr. Muhire, unmute and please speak to us.
Maybe as you wait for him.
Just a moment. Producer, are you able to get for us Dr. Muhire? Is he speaking? Can you unmute Dr. Muhire? Can you just unmute and speak to your phone, to your microphone?
Yes, my mic is open now.
All right.
Yes, moderator. Is he speaking? Can you unmute Dr. Muhire? Can you just unmute and speak to your phone, to your microphone? Yes. Yes, my mic is open. I'm actually here talking since I'm talking myself. Am I not clear now?
You are. Please talk.
Hello. Hello.
He's talking.
Yeah. Mr. Muhire, we can hear you, Dr. Muhire. Please speak to us.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, 24/7 News, for inviting me to come and talk to my fellow citizens. I would like to start by also sending my condolences to. Please speak to us.
Dr. Muhire, we can hear you.
He's talking.
There's just some delay. Please speak on.
Can I try to turn mine on?
You can.
Please speak on. you. Sorry for the technicalities. I've been actually talking. I thought you were getting me. So I'd also like to start. Is trying to to do the audit to know actually the exact number of government employees. That is number one category of winners. The second one, of course, is debt servicing, and this is where I really wish to see Ugandans actually putting much emphasis. You're talking about 17 trillion going not for debt repayment but just debt servicing. And the same thing happened in the previous financial year, But I want to tell you that we have reached as a country. When you look at this debt, the debt debt stock around 80, which is coming to 88.9 trillion shillings. You see 17 trillion of the budget going to debt servicing. Who is making this scale? Where is Uganda borrowing this money from? And why is it that even we borrow resources which much of it we actually never use and we are spending or getting penalized? So I want to tell you that Uganda's appetite for borrowing from the domestic market has also increased over time. And this has its obvious issues, I mean crowding private sector. But I want you to think about this point, which I think is even the most dangerous, why one should never go for debt, domestic borrowing. I want to tell you that as we speak, when you look at Uganda's government securities, when you look at the interest on these government securities, it is too lucrative. You don't want to do any other business in this country if you're Russian. The only avenue you want to put your money or invest your money is actually lending the government. So that's why we look at, for example, the government bond of about 20 years. The interest rate is priced, we're talking about over 15%. So why would I establish a factory that I will get, I have to put in efforts, I have to run it, then I have to pay corporation tax of about 30%, and yet I can put my money in government securities. At the end of the day, there is no risk, and I will get my clean money, and I will not even pay tax. I mean, I will only be charged 10% compared to 30% if I had started, let's say, a normal business or established a company. But for me, that is not even the worst. The worst is that when you look at these interest rates on government securities, they are too lucrative to the extent that they even attempt anyone who can have access or land on government resources. What am I saying? That one can easily get attempted to actually steal government's money and actually lend the government. This is where we are. I mean, I want you to look at the levels of corruption. You're going to see that the curve of corruption in this country is increasing in the same direction and almost at the same rate with our debt stock. So as you see corruption is increasing, people are misusing government or public resources. Most of this actually stealing from the government to lend the government. That's where we've reached as a country. So I'm not excited about the budget because this is the same scripture we see every time. And until as a country we stop running our economy as a kiosk, we are not going to get anywhere. That's why when you look at, for example, our aspirations talk about middle income status by 2020. Of course, it never happened, and the president used COVID-19 pandemic as an excuse. But 2 years after, he had to come up with his own formulas to come up and show that we've reached or entered that phase of middle income status. So I want to tell listeners that this budget, the theme is very wonderful, but when it comes to allocation, the allocation does not speak to these themes. When you look at the national budget and you're asking yourself, how can we make sure that the resources actually end up reaching the target beneficiaries or the common man? You just want to look at three things. You want to look at the allocations going for human capital development. In this case, a program that houses health, education, and PDM and gender. So how much resources have we allocated to this program? We are seeing resources not increasing. Instead, the resources are reducing in this program. And I want to tell you that if a common Ugandan cannot find medicine in the public sector, health care system, if a local man is paying too much on education, if a local man is seeing, for example, the medics are protesting, no one wants to go to a public health care system or health care center when you know that the medics are striking. You don't want to send your kid to a school when you know that teachers are on strike. So majority of Ugandans are spending much of their income on these three basic goods. items. We are talking about health. I'm talking about health. Uganda has the highest out-of-pocket expenditure on health in the region. You're talking about over 37%. Compared to a country like Rwanda, which comes in at 10%, you have South Sudan and Kenya jointly at 23%, Tanzania with 24%, and then Burundi at 30%. So that tells you that most of Ugandans are actually struggling or spending the little money they have on health. And I'm talking about a common man, because the big cities in this country, they don't even use the healthcare systems in this country. Education, the same thing. Coming to agriculture, almost everyone in Uganda is involved in that industry, directly or indirectly, or that sector of agriculture. But I want us to look at, at rural areas. Most of people, the farmers out there, they are spending too much money on fake agricultural inputs. Farmers, if you go and talk to them or even just make a call, I know everyone has a member maybe there, you'll get shocked by how much these people are actually, suffering. Of course, the last intervention I heard, the government was creating a unit under the State House because the line ministries and agencies and departments, they are not doing the job. So if these people cannot do the right job, you don't have to create another unit. Those who have failed to do the job, kick them out. There are many Ugandans who can do the right job, and that's why we need in this country to embrace meritocracy rather than political and social appointments. Otherwise, we're going to always have these kind of inefficiencies from the civil service, and at the end of the day, the output is what we are seeing today. Coming to the urban areas where most of us are, I want to say to this question to everyone online or our dear listeners. Ask yourself how much, for those who have been built, how much money do you spend on housing per month? What percentage account just get a full housing per month? You won't realize that most of the people, more than 50% of their monthly income goes for housing. On top of high expenditure, talking about out-of-pocket expenditure on health, you have education, now you have housing. These are basics. Of course, now you cannot forget about the potholes. Let's say in Kampala, if you have a car or a small car, definitely you're going to be changing shock absorbers. I don't know for how many times. So, for one to be convinced that this is a pro-budget, a pro-people budget, or this is trickling down to the common person, at least we need to be seeing resources being increased, especially in the Human Development Capital Program. But at the same time, even the money you allocate to this program or this program, you need to make sure that there's accountability. You need to see there is value for money. As long as we have these high levels of corruption in this country, and I'm not saying that we can end corruption to zero, no. But if it is not handled with a hard or strong approach, then it is going to remain a joke. And that's why today in Uganda, almost everyone is sounding like a comedian. Even the president himself is, blaming, people for making wrong decisions, and we have this huge debt that is coming at a cost that
Thank you.
we don't want to imagine.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
You have Bank of Uganda warning the government that this debt, where it has reached, it is no longer sustainable, because we've realized that much of the resources from the budget are actually going for these, are going for debt servicing. So the people who are supposed to be responsible or take responsibility for this mess are now blaming their counterparts. So that's where we are. Until we stop running this economy as a kiosk and run it on an optimal mode, then I can assure you that the future is not really good.
Thank you.
It will take everyone's efforts to pay their part. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much, Dr. Muhire, for that very deep and in-depth analysis we have listened to Dr. Muhire there trying to demystify that budget for us from the economic perspective, and we are still on Viewpoint at News 24/7, and my hosts and my speakers, I have Ismail Musa Ladu from Nation Media Group there. We have Job Richard Matua from NRM coordinator and incoming vice chairperson NRM, and then we have Dr. Francis Muhire, who is an economist there, trying to demystify for us things. Our time is so far spent, and we would like to wrap this up. But as we wrap it up, I just want to go through some people's messages who have been talking to us, and I know that the producer is trying to arrange those for me. But as I get those messages, can I just give my panelists a minute each to just wrap this up? Mr. Matua, I begin with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I'm appealing to our people in charge of budget execution. Please, try to discipline yourself. I don't want to see a situation which civil servants are going through now. 3 months without salary.
Yes.
Arrears and arrears, supplementary and supplementary. That must stop.
Yes.
In fact, I got myself involved in chasing salaries for some of the civil servants, like in Butambala district. I had to take the teachers, the representative to Ministry of Finance until the money came. That's one. Two, money budgeted for certain activities. I'm requesting Ministry of Finance to release the money in time. Why release the money towards the end of the financial year? This is very bad. My brother who writes about the business and the economy need to take interest in it. Please, I request you to be very much interested in it and expose such things early. So I am told there are some corrupt lords in the Ministry of Finance who deliberately refuse to release money for certain agencies or ministries with which they are not in good terms. So I am therefore appealing to the PS, Minister of Finance, Dr. Ramadani Gobi, and the ministers therein. Please ensure that there is efficiency in utilization of budgeted money.
Thank you
that
very much.
Money is provided in time, and money provided is used, and there is accountability to that effect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Isma,
Yeah,
your
very
parting
quick-
shots.
Absolutely, very, very quickly. If you look at the budget, the outlook, the structure, looks really good. If you listen to the delivery, if you read it, you can see that there's some attempts that are positive. But now the issue is, the devil is in the details. Now, if you begin to examine the details, this is when the budgets begin to fall away, fall apart rather. Now, one, local suppliers must be paid. Okay.
Yes.
The budget does not address that squarely. Okay. Because these are the people who run the economy. These are the people who employ Ugandans. So if you consume their services and products and you don't pay them, you're actually killing your economy. So the budget must be able to address that squarely. Unfortunately, for the coming financial year, that's not going to happen. Then two, the PDM must work. Okay? The PDM must work. If it doesn't work, it will give us an idea of quality of leadership that we actually have in government. So as a whole, I have my doubts about the budget, but as a optimistic Ugandan, I hope it works out. But I'm doubtful.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the close of this show, but before we do that, one of our viewers wants to have an input into this. Please, can you just give him to us for 1 minute, and they can speak. Please, can you unmute your microphone and speak to us, please? We have 1 minute for you. The people on Twitter can hear you loud and clear. Can you speak, please? Oh, I think we lost you there. I think we lost you. Sorry, but if you can, I know our time is fast spent. If we had started earlier, you would have been able to speak to us, Miss Sebagala. We regret the fact that we couldn't get you right there. But from the studio here with me have been my very good panelists. I had Becca Batelule, who left us after getting an emergency. We had Job Richard Matua from the NRM mobilization team and the incoming vice chairperson, and we had Ismail Musa Ladu. I like to call him Ismail Sheikh Musa Ladu, who comes to us from the Nation Media Group. And from my crew, I had behind the cameras Mr. Luwama Rogers William, also called Liam. He was right there behind the camera, did very excellent job, and our producer Christopher Opendi has been very fundamental and very pivotal, and those that have been playing very crucial roles. I also wanted to tell you that we have been having the expertise of our MD, Mr. Daniel Lutaya, who is preparing for his upcoming fellowship in the US. He has been giving us very technical information from the control room. Thank you very much for being good viewers and listeners. I know we have had a very huge and humongous following from the YouTube space. The YouTube live link has been also buzzing with comments, but of course some of which have been answered here and we didn't get time to just get back to you. From me, Derek Wandera, on the Viewpoint for News 24/7. I'll be back again next time on Saturday, same time, same place, with even a bigger and better panel. Good afternoon.